I think it's a top fight for Terence Crawford, but Terence Crawford is a great fighter. He has a great defense. He has a good combination punches, but I think the weight class is no.
Juan Manuel Marquez isn't holding back. He's casting serious doubt on whether Terence Crawford truly belongs in his new weight class. According to the Mexican legend, Crawford's skill alone won't be enough this time, but Marquez didn't stop at Crawford. He had plenty to say about Canelo Alvarez as well. Canelo Alvarez is a good fighter, he defends well, but I think with the experience and power he has everything, Marquez said. He praised Canelo's strength, ring IQ, and all-around skill set, calling him the total package, sharp, strong, and seasoned. There was no hesitation in Marquez's voice, just genuine respect for Canelo's evolution as a fighter. Coming from a legend like Marquez, that's not hype, it's validation. Still, in boxing, even praise from a legend can spark debate. And just as quickly as he praised Canelo, Marquez shifted back to Crawford, and turned critical. He didn't mince words, voicing a concern many fans have quietly shared: it's not about Crawford's talent but his size. For Marquez, the issue is clear. It's about weight, natural strength, and the unforgiving realities of boxing's divisions. And he made his stance loud and clear.
He's a good fighter, but in the sport of boxing, we have divisions. You know what I mean? You know?
Right, weight classes.
You know what?
Right?
Yeah, weight classes.
For a reason.
Weight classes for, yeah. And Terence Crawford is a good fighter in super lightweight, welterweight, super welterweight, but I think more. I remember when Terence Crawford fought with Madrimo.
Yes.
He looks slow. He looks with no power, and three more divisions. Two more divisions. I think it's a top fight for.
Juan Manuel Marquez doesn't believe Terence Crawford is strong enough to carry his speed and power into the higher weight classes. He pointed to Crawford's past performances, especially against naturally bigger opponents, as evidence that problems start to show when size becomes a factor. The message from Marquez is clear: skill doesn't always carry over when the body isn't built for the division. Gaining weight isn't an act of bravery, it can be a dangerous gamble. And when that warning comes from a legend who has fought across multiple weight classes, it carries even more weight. Marquez isn't the only one raising concerns. Strength coach Raw Bester added fuel to the fire with a brutally honest take. He didn't shy away from the reality that Crawford is stepping into Canelo's world, a fighter who has been competing at 168 pounds for years. Bester brought up something many fans overlook: Canelo's chin and the punishment he's already absorbed in this weight class. His advice? Respect the levels of the game, because at this size, every punch carries consequences.
Happened at 168. Canelo's been hit by Triple G, one of the hardest punches in boxing. You mean to tell me that Crawford's gonna go up there and just clean him out? Nah, that's not happening. So it's a lot harder. Now, do I think that the athleticism of Crawford will give Canelo props?
Raw Bester isn't questioning Terence Crawford's talent. In fact, he praises Crawford for being athletic, elusive, and sneaky in the ring. But when it comes to strength and physical durability, Bester is crystal clear: Canelo has taken punches from monsters like Gennady Golovkin, he said. The idea that Crawford can just move up and dominate? That's sheer nonsense, according to Bester. In his view, Canelo is stronger, more experienced, and physically built for this level, and that's what makes this matchup so different. But Bester didn't stop at raw power. He dug deeper, highlighting a crucial detail behind Crawford's jump to 168 pounds. It's not just about the number on the scale, he explained. It's about how that weight is added and carried. He broke down the difference between natural size and artificially gained weight in simple, direct language. And for Bester, that disparity might be the breaking point, the subtle but significant edge that could decide everything.
Talking about Crawford. Crawford has come from 140, 147, 154. He's going to skip 60 and go straight to 68. So let's just say Crawford walks around 180. Okay, walks around 180. He's going to come down. Those 12 pounds make it 68. He ate his way up to 180. Understand that. He didn't work out his way up to 180. That's the difference. So So if you're just going to eat your way up to a heavier weight, assuming because you sparred heavier guys that you can perform at a top level against a guy who's been there numerous times, very comfortable with his weight, and coming down from a heavier weight, that's a whole different animal.
Raw Bester pointed out a key issue in Terence Crawford's move to 168 pounds, is not building weight, is eating it. And according to Bester, that kind of weight gain doesn't come with true strength or endurance. Meanwhile, Canelo Alvarez has been thriving at this weight, having previously competed at even higher divisions. Bester emphasized that size and ring knowledge aren't developed by simply sparring with heavier opponents, they come from surviving real fights at that level. And in his eyes, the gap between Crawford and someone like Canelo could be devastating. Still, despite his concerns, Bester gave Crawford the respect he'd earned. He acknowledged that Crawford is more than just a skilled boxer, he's a complete athlete. From wrestling to weightlifting, Crawford commits himself to intense training, and Bester respects that dedication. He also praised the strength of Crawford's team, highlighting the strategic minds behind the physical preparation. But in the end, Bester made one thing clear: appreciation doesn't override reality.
At 154, however much he weighs. Now, one thing I do give Crawford, he's incredibly athletic. He's not just into boxing, he does wrestling, he does weight training. You know what I mean? And you know, he has a good strength coach. He has a good strength team. You know, he has Bomac. So I understand how they can all work together to create this this super fighter. But it's super hard to come from 154 all the way to 68 within a specific time frame and perform as if you were at 147, 140, 140.
Austin didn't sugarcoat it, he made it clear that even elite fighters have physical limits. Jumping from 154 to 168 pounds in such a short time isn't just difficult, it's dangerous. He explained that maintaining the same performance level after a major weight increase is nearly impossible, no matter how good the training camp or how smart the team. The body doesn't always cooperate with the plan, and when you're facing someone like Canelo, there's no margin for error. Austin backed up his concerns with a reminder of what happened the last time Crawford moved up in weight. He didn't say Crawford looked bad, but he noted something was different. The added pounds seemed to dull Crawford's trademark sharpness. Both fighters landed solid shots in that bout, but neither appeared rattled, and that, in Austin's mind, raised more questions than answers. We've seen what happened when he went from 147 to 154, Austin said. It wasn't a disaster, but it showed he could be touched. He took some clean shots, and so did his opponent. If that's what happened at 154, what happens at 168? His concern is that if Crawford's power doesn't carry up, and his opponents can absorb and counter his best shots, the entire fight dynamic shifts. It's not about heart, Crawford's proven he has that. It's about whether his tools still work against bigger, stronger men. Legendary trainer Abel Sanchez echoed that worry, though from a slightly different angle. While he didn't question Crawford's skill, he labeled the matchup a physical mismatch from the start. In Sanchez's view, Canelo's size, experience, and durability make this fight hard to justify. Despite all the hype, Sanchez was blunt: "I'm not buying it."
It's two different people. Yes, Crawford will gain the weight. Yes, he will be probably around 160, 162, 63 in fight time. But Canelo's a bigger man. Canelo is taking shots from big guys, and nobody has done anything to him. So I don't think this fight. I don't think, I've said it all along, I don't think this fight should happen. But the money was there for both of them, so it's being made. But it's not a fight that I would pay.
Abel Sanchez didn't mince words. He pointed out that while Terence Crawford may gain weight, that doesn't make him the bigger man. Canelo Alvarez has faced giants in the ring, absorbed their best shots, and kept pressing forward. That level of resilience, Sanchez argued, can't be mimicked just by putting on extra pounds. He further suggested that the fight is happening more for financial reasons than competitive merit. In one of his most direct comments, Sanchez even said it's not about who he'd pay to watch, implying the matchup doesn't pass his test for elite competition. When a veteran like Sanchez speaks with that kind of clarity, it cuts through the noise, but Sanchez didn't stop at skepticism. He issued a clear warning. In his eyes, this isn't just a size mismatch, it's a dangerous one. He believes that Canelo's power is something Crawford can't avoid forever. At this level, it's no longer just about skill or speed, it's about what happens when the bigger, stronger man finally lands a clean shot, and Sanchez is convinced that moment will come.
So, I think so, yes. And it's not because Terence is not talented. Terence is a talented fighter. It's just that you're talking about a big man who's used to fighting those big guys. Eventually, he will catch Crawford. Eventually, he will and punish Crawford and hurt him.
Abel Sanchez made it clear, this isn't a critique of Terence Crawford's talent. He described Crawford as a gifted fighter with elite skills. But talent alone, he warned, won't protect you from the kind of punishment that Canelo Alvarez can deliver. Sanchez spoke with the calm confidence of someone who has seen too many great fighters undone by sheer size and strength. For him, this isn't just a difficult matchup for Crawford, it has the potential to go very badly. This isn't hype, it's a warning from a veteran who's been through the war. Trainer Darius Cote echoed Sanchez's concerns, adding his voice to the growing list of experts who are skeptical about the Crawford vs. Canelo fight. While he acknowledged the technical appeal of a matchup between two highly skilled boxers, Cote didn't shy away from addressing the deeper issue, danger. Like others, Cote questioned whether Crawford possesses the kind of power needed to earn Canelo's respect in the ring. And for him, that missing threat changes everything. Without it, he believes Crawford will be at a constant disadvantage, no matter how sharp his boxing is.
I think at this point, he should definitely, that's a note for me. I don't think that Crawford has enough pop at 54 to deal with a Canelo. And we talk about a Canelo that can easily go till 76 to light heavy and deal with the power there. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Crawford got anything that would scare a Canelo. Now, would it still be an interesting fight? Yeah, from a boxing purist standpoint, I think Crawford has enough to be able to stay away from Canelo long enough to make it interesting points-wise. But I don't think he can hurt Canelo at all. I just don't think he can. But I know Canelo can hurt him. So that fight for me is less exciting after.
One analyst, simply referred to as K, doesn't believe Terence Crawford has what it takes to hurt Canelo Alvarez, no matter how skilled or slick he is. K predicted that Crawford's lack of power at 168 pounds would force him into survival mode, focused on winning rounds rather than inflicting damage. Meanwhile, in K's view, all Canelo needs is one opening to change the course of the fight. K's tone wasn't dismissive, just practical. He argued that when there's no threat of destruction, the excitement fades. Once again, the discussion circled back to the size gap, one that continues to dominate the conversation around this matchup, but K didn't stop at critiquing the fight's entertainment value. He made his pick. For him, it all comes down to a fundamental rule in boxing: size matters. He believes Canelo won't just absorb Crawford's shots, he'll walk through them. He envisions stretches of the fight where Canelo pressures Crawford, forcing him into uncomfortable territory. I believe Canelo would have been able to press the envelope in key moments, K said. A good big man usually beats a good little man. That's how he sees the fight playing out. K's view is straightforward, but it carries weight. He isn't questioning Crawford's skills, he's backing the bigger man in a physical fight. He believes Canelo will be able to dictate the pace, control the crucial exchanges, and dominate as the rounds wear on. For K, it's not just about theory, it's about boxing history. And it's that history, combined with Canelo's strength and size advantage, that tips the scales. Even veteran broadcaster Jim Lampley joined the conversation, offering a more measured but still cautious perspective. He didn't outright condemn the matchup, but he did echo a concern that's been repeated by many: the weight difference. For Lampley, it's not just about the number on the scale, it's what those pounds mean in a real fight. Especially in the middleweight divisions, where strength, speed, and timing are so closely matched, big weight jumps can carry serious consequences.
Whether it's 14 pounds to 21 pounds, it's a big gap. And it's not the kind of gap that fighters are normally able to easily deal with, particularly in the middle range of weight classes. You know, Terence Crawford has not fought at 168 pounds. Terence Crawford, to my knowledge, has fought once at 154 pounds. I saw him at 135, 140, 147. I watched his genesis through those weight classes. I think he's a fantastic.
Veteran broadcaster Jim Lampley offered a thoughtful but cautionary perspective on the Crawford vs. Canelo matchup. He pointed out a crucial detail: Terence Crawford hasn't truly tested himself at 154 pounds, let alone 168. Lampley has watched Crawford dominate through the lower weight classes, from 135 up to 147, and has praised his skill and precision along the way. But, he emphasized, making such a massive leap in weight without real experience at the intermediate divisions is a completely different challenge. He described the fight as fantastic, but one wrapped in real danger. And when someone with Lampley's decades of ringside experience raises red flags, it carries weight. Lampley didn't hide his concerns. It's not just about talent or tactics. It's about the physical consequences of facing a naturally larger and battle-tested opponent like Canelo Alvarez.
I regard myself as the world's biggest Terence Crawford fan. During the period of time when I was calling his fights on HBO, he rose all the way up to number 1 pound for pound. So I have nothing but the highest opinion of Terence Crawford. But Canelo Alvarez is a different fighter from a different weight class. And, 168 pounds is a long way up from 147. So I've run across a couple of expert opinions who say, oh yes, Terence will be fine at this weight, he's going to win. And I've run across a couple of other expert opinions that say...
Jim Lampley issued a stark warning: Canelo Alvarez is not just another opponent, he is in a different weight class entirely, built for 168 pounds. While some experts believe Terence Crawford will adjust well to the new weight, Lampley has heard the opposite from others who view it as a risky move. The differing opinions only add to the uncertainty surrounding the fight, even for someone as seasoned as Lampley. He admitted, this isn't an easy fight to support, and that says a lot about the stakes at play. Lampley then addressed what has become the central issue in this debate: Crawford's power, or lack thereof, at 168. He questioned whether Crawford would be able to inflict meaningful damage on Canelo, a fighter renowned for his resilience and longevity. For Lampley, that's the heart of the contest. Skill can only take you so far, he said. If there's no threat behind your punches, it changes everything. And when it comes to damaging Canelo, history is not on Crawford's side.
Against a guy whom he can't hurt. That's the biggest question: is how does Terence hurt Canelo Alvarez, who to my way of thinking has the strongest punch resistance in the sport. Great chin, great legs. I think the legs are more of it than the chin per se. But the bottom line is, nobody's had him down on the canvas. The only official knockdown ever in Canelo's career was a situation where he got knocked back into the ropes by Miguel Cotto's little brother, and the referee ruled that the ropes had held.
Jim Lampley highlighted one of Canelo Alvarez's most notable strengths: his chin. For years, the best fighters in the world have landed clean, powerful shots on Canelo, and yet, no one has been able to put him down. The only official knockdown in his career came from a shot that merely forced him against the ropes, but Lampley emphasized that Canelo's durability isn't just about his chin, it's also about his balance and legs. In the face of such resilience, Lampley expressed doubt about Crawford's ability to generate the firepower needed to make a significant impact. Without that threat, Lampley believes the fight becomes an uphill battle for Crawford. Lampley didn't just make sweeping judgments, he backed up his concerns with solid evidence. He pointed to Canelo's long history of facing elite-level opponents, many of whom were naturally larger and carried impressive punching power. Through it all, Canelo has remained unmoved and unbroken. Lampley used these facts to draw a stark contrast between Crawford's challenge and the reality of Canelo's past battles. For him, the gap is clear.
Sure what Terence's plan is to win the fight, other than a boxing paint job. If Terence is going to tell me my way to win the fight is I'm going to outbox him every second of every round and he's not going to find me, that's probably the right plan in my particular view. But, maybe Terence has something else.
Jim Lampley made another crucial point: Canelo Alvarez has sparred with fighters much larger than Terence Crawford, including the likes of Sergey Kovalev and Dmitry Bivol. Even though Canelo lost to Bivol, Lampley noted that he was never hurt, scared, or knocked down during the fight. Lampley stressed that toughness in boxing isn't just about technique, it's also about being naturally built for a particular weight class. Crawford may be one of the best, but Canelo is a proven tank, having withstood the power of heavier, stronger opponents. That's what makes this fight so dangerous for Crawford. After laying out the physical differences, Lampley shifted focus to strategy, questioning whether Crawford even has a realistic game plan for this fight. He acknowledged Crawford's boxing brilliance but made it clear that against Canelo, there's almost no margin for error. For Crawford to win, he'd need a near-perfect performance, something Lampley isn't sure would even be enough to survive, let alone dominate.
Right, so, it's good for boxing. We don't know, you know what I mean? I think Canelo the favorite, you know what I mean? Just, it's gonna come down to if his skill set is, who has a bigger gap in his skill set, because really, a good big man always gonna be a good little man if the skill is close or Canelo.
Jim Lampley suggested that Crawford's best chance might be to paint a boxing masterpiece, outclassing Canelo round by round without getting caught. In Lampley's view, this might be Crawford's only strategy for making it through the fight, but even that feels nearly impossible to execute against a fighter like Canelo. Lampley didn't dispute Crawford's skill, he merely questioned whether that talent could overcome Canelo's physical advantages in size, strength, and experience. That uncertainty, Lampley said, sums up the challenge perfectly. Meanwhile, rising welterweight Paul Crawford added his voice to the conversation, offering the perspective of a younger fighter while echoing many of the same concerns. While Crawford didn't downplay the fight's excitement or its value to the sport, he kept his take grounded in reality. For Crawford, the danger is clear, and so is the choice. While leaving room for potential surprises, he remained firm in his belief, unless there is a significant skill gap, size will ultimately decide the outcome.